Okay, so welcome back. And don't worry if you're just trying to get in the room and all that. Perfect. So I talked already a little bit about why this training, why now. Basically, to help us leverage the chakras to clear, process, and digest and clear out 2020, and to create a clear strategy for our continued transformation and rebuilding in 2021. This weekend, specifically, we're going to do a little chakras overview, just kind of lay it all out there a little bit, and then dealing a little bit more with the root chakra, maybe the second chakra, but really working with the earth element. And the reason why we'll be working with the earth element, which I alluded to in an earlier talk today, is that it's the foundation, and 2020 was that foundational year. In traditional Chinese medicine, the earth element is the digestive system. So I think that's very interesting that if we in traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM as it's called, the idea is you want to have a strong digestive system. So you can process, digest, and digestion itself is a transformational process. As you know, something goes in one way, it doesn't come out the same, unless it's like corn or something like that. But, it's kind of gross maybe. You know what I'm talking about. But ideally, something goes in one way and comes out another, changed forever. And a lot of it has to do with the ability to break it down and then assimilate, but then to let go. So to break down 2020 for our individualnesses, our individual selves, to assimilate the nutrients that we got, and then to let it go. And that letting go, that digestion process, is very root chakra-y. Now, some will say the third chakra is more about the digestive, like the assimilation and breaking it down. Yes, but we're going to go with root today as a way of letting go, allowing our digestive tract to be strong. When we have a strong digestive system, according to traditional Chinese medicine, it allows the immune system to function more efficiently. Because if you have things left over in your body that were not digested, toxins now, things, undigested material, whether it's a thought, a construct, food, something you've ingested, polluted air, things like, viruses, if we can't digest them, then it moves up the chain to our immune system and our purification system, which would be our liver, spleen, things like that, to process what we couldn't do in our digestive tract. So as we keep our digestive system tract and all of it strong, then it takes the pressure off of our immune system and our purification system, which might be useful information for you. When we connect with the earth, because root chakra today, I'm just going to give you a little bit of that first before I get into the overview, because to me it's overviewing this whole weekend. As we connect with the earth, and many of you say, okay, now I live in nature, and thank goodness, and I love that, and I now live in nature and I love that. But as we connect with the earth, it facilitates our letting go. There's a thing about really touching the earth and just saying yes to gravity and saying yes to let me be held by you. Let me let go into you. The earth likes that, actually. There's a book called Earthing. I'll put it in the chat here. I don't know who wrote it. Where's everyone? Not required reading, but it's a book that talks about how being in physical contact with the earth will actually reduce inflammation in the body. So that's something to think about. And then there's this idea of relationship with the earth, because really, as we're in community, we're in relationship with each other. We're also in relationship with the earth, being on the earth. So I'm going to get more to this, just layering things. It's all layers. We are from the earth. We need the earth. Our physical bodies, let me put it that way, our physical bodies need the earth to survive. Our consciousness doesn't need the earth to survive. But if we're in that place, we're like, well, I don't really need the earth to survive because my consciousness hasn't handled, and you really are operating under that element and operating with that and know that's true and are completely confident, then you are walking a fearless life right now and have nothing to worry about. But if there's a possibility that maybe you're not quite there yet, then let's think about our relationship to the earth, that which actually gives us physical life as we know it. The earth makes air. You know, it's the planet that has atmosphere for us to breathe. So just getting to that function, that functionality, there's no other planet that we know of right now that makes air even for us. So what is our relationship with earth? We need her for our physical body to survive. So what kind of relationship are we building with this earth element, the root chakra? It gets such a bad rap. Oh, that's just root chakra stuff. Well, it's not just root chakra stuff. I mean, it's the stuff. Oh, you're just in your root chakra. Maybe I am. Maybe that's where I need to be. Maybe I need to figure out my root chakra. If we jump chakras too fast, I mean, I'm not saying don't jump them. We move around. They all move around. We move around in them. They're not static. But if we haven't decided to go into our root chakra and check it out, then we're not really understanding our foundation and really at a very foundational level what makes us tick. And so we're not really in relationship with ourselves, nor are we in relationship with that which is keeping us alive. On the flip side, does the earth need us? No, the earth doesn't need us. Without humans, the earth would go on, I would bet, now I'm not a scientist, but I would bet that if there was no human life on the earth, it would carry on just fine. Which then begs the question, if we're in relationship with the earth, what kind of relationship do we want to have? Do we want to be a partner, a guest, a consumer, an invader, something else? And think about how our relationship with the earth is, and is that mirrored in any way to our relationship with our own earth element, to ourself? How am I in my own body? How is my consciousness in my own body? Am I a partner? Am I a guest? Am I a consumer? Am I an invader? Something else? I could go really out there right now and assume that there are aliens walking amongst us on the planet. Me going way out there. Which would then beg to wonder, do aliens need the earth? And what kind of constructs have been brought to the earth by those that might not be in need of the earth? And how much of those thoughts have we possibly adopted as our own, if you're an earthling? Now, if you're not an earthling and you know that, then, you know, the questions still apply. When our earth element, that power of that earth element, our digestive thing, when our digestion is incomplete, we start to feel stuck. That can translate oftentimes in the form of worry. Whatever is not digested stresses us out somehow. It has to be taken care of by something else. Now, many of you might know this in your life. My God, if so-and-so could have just done their job, me or these other beings wouldn't have to like step up and do their job for them. Anybody have that in there? Yeah, okay. So I'm in the right room? Yeah. So it's like, if they could have just done blah, blah, blah like they were supposed to, or like they agreed to, then I wouldn't have to do it, or I wouldn't have to delegate someone else doing it. And the person who's ever getting it next may not be their specialty. So now it's an inefficient system is now happening. We are so resilient as human beings. We can pick up all that slack, which is so great. It keeps us alive. But to really give ourselves that chance to honor and to allow ourselves the time to complete those cycles in ourselves can really help all the other systems in our body function more efficiently. And for example, if I'm undigested, Some other system is going to have to kick in, like the immune system, to take care of it, which is then going to mean that's going to get taxed. So it's probably going to slack up. And then some other system is going to get taxed, and some other system is going to get taxed. So if we want to stay free, creative, flowing beings, that's why we want to create this idea of our balance in ourselves. Okay, overview. Can tell when I'm really lecturing because I'm gonna get hot. Layer number 1, check. I only have one other layer, so hopefully my face just doesn't turn like a big beet sooner than later, because I just become red in the face. All yoga is Kundalini yoga. All yoga is designed, even though there's Kundalini the brand, all yoga is designed to awaken each individual to the consciousness inherent inside of each one of us. Kunda means fire pit. Each chakra is a kunda. Each cell is a kunda. Each cell is a brain. Just like we are individual cells, we're made of individual cells. Like we're little individual manifestations of earth. All of my cells in me are also manifestations of my consciousness in this physical form. I'm going to talk more about that later, but I'm putting it out there now. Each chakra is a kunda. Each cell in our body is a kunda, a fire pit, a place for transformation. And each cell is unto itself complete, and it's its own brain. It has its own awareness. Just put that in the hopper for now. Kundalini. Words that you might have heard that might be similar to Kundalini. Prana Shakti, Agni, Kundalini, Kundalini Shakti. These are all words for the same thing. We're going to keep coming back to Kundalini and really talk about it more closer to the end of this training, but I'm going to bring it up now to keep it going. Kundalini nutshell talk. Kunda means fire pit. Kundala, Kundala, is one who is coiled. So this is that snake image, the one that is coiled in the kunda. So that would be the serpent coiled up in the fire pit. Okay, so your body is a kunda. Your cells are a kunda. Each chakra is a kunda. You have so much. You've got limitless transformational capacity all the time. All right. Let me see. I'm not going to go into much more on that right now. We'll get back to that. Okay. We talked about nadis, which are the energy currents. There's an infinite number of them. In the yoga books that we read, usually they use the number 72,000. I think there's more. I think there's more than 72,000 nadis in my body. And in fact, there's a tantric master who assured me that that was in fact the case, that we just use the word 72,000 because it's a convenient number to use. But we're not going to actually count 72,000 nadis. And if you had awareness of all of 72,000 of your nadis, well, and you're walking around not going crazy, more power to you. So we don't work with all of those nadis consciously because it's just a lot of information. It's like being able to feel all of your nerves. You know, you don't necessarily want to know everything that's going on all the time. It's just too much information. It can be distracting. That's why we build capacity, so we can take more and more and be aware of more and more at a way that we don't feel like we're going crazy, at a way that we don't feel like we're going to crawl out of our skin to survive. By knowing more, we don't want to feel like we can't be in the world more. We want to feel like I am even more comfortable in my world. If my practices are leading me to be too sensitive, or I can't be in the world, slow it down. You're going to go through phases of feeling too sensitive because now you know more than you knew before. That's okay. then that's the time just to keep doing that practice until that becomes now your norm. That becomes, now I'm that sensitive and I know how to deal with my life from that lens. And then add on. You don't have to get it all at once. I mean, otherwise, you know those days when you walk around, you feel like you're just like a fried nerve? It's because probably your nerves are kind of bare and you've got split end nerves out there. And you just need to be soothed. Soothe your nerves, soothe your split ends. Put some conditioner on yourself. And don't worry about knowing everything all the time. But that's what our practice does. It helps us know more of the time. Okay, we have things, energy currents, and they cross. So they're not parallel lines. And these energy currents cross. And because this is an advanced training, I'm going to give you a more detailed version than you get in other trainings. You've got sandhis. I'm writing this in the chat. And this is where two or more currents cross. Oops, sands, corrected. It's S-A-N-D-H-I-S. Sandhis. That's where two or more currents cross. Then you've got marma points, which is where three or more cross. And then you've got chakras, which is where four or more cross. Remember, always or more. And you might have heard, well, just where two or more energy currents cross, that's a chakra, yes, but you can get more specific with the type of chakra that it is. Because remember, we've already determined that everything's a chakra. Each chakra, and we're going to talk, there's so many more chakras than just the 7 that we're going to talk about in this training. And each one has a particular personality and a different lens, which we're going to talk about today. When we talk about Kundalini awakening, there's philosophical aspects to this. One of them is we want to understand our true nature. We want to understand and experience our innate wisdom. We start to actually embody and experience that matter and consciousness are completely mingled into each other, that we are not separate. So we're not trying to rise above our physical life. We're trying to figure out our physical life and our non-physical life and see why this physical life and this consciousness, why those two, and see how they could not exist without each other, that they are the warp and the woof, the weave of the existence that is you. And it's very necessary. Your existence is exactly as the way it is. Everything you've done up to this point in time is perfect. You did exactly what you need to do. And there's no reason why that's going to change anytime soon or ever. You're doing exactly what you need to do to learn, to experience, to embody a unique aspect of this life. So what our Kundalini experiences give us is more understanding at a deep level of the perfection of who you are and the perfection of everything around you, no matter what our judgments say. What the Kundalini experiences is those non-judgmental states where you really, really know, with a capital K, it's perfection. The practical aspects of Kundalini awakening is we want to find an access point, and most of the times we work with the chakras. We can start anywhere. We can start on any chakra. Today, this one, we're going to start with the root because it's a foundation year, and there's other reasons why I want to start with the root today. When I studied with Pandit Rajmani Tiganayat, he starts everyone at the navel center. When I studied with Dennis Adams, he would take us alternating between the root and the third eye. Some start you in the heart. So there's lots of, you can basically anyone you can start with, but we're starting with the root today because when we're working with the glands, it makes more sense to go from the bottom up. All right, so that's going to be about it on the Kundalini part. So as we talk about chakras, we're going to look at them from a yogic point of view. We're going to look at it eventually from an electrical system point of view, given that you've got an electrical system, you've got a physical body, You got a physical body, you've got an emotional body, you've got an electrical body, and you've got your space body. That's one system. A yogic point of view, you have different types of things. And we're also going to look at the chakras from a gland point of view. Because you've heard, oh, the pineal gland goes with this chakra, and the adrenals go with this chakra, and all these types of glands. And we talk about that in yoga. And by stimulating this chakra, my something gland, or if I work with this gland, my this chakra, then this. And, you know, yes and yes and yes, all of that. Everything you do affects you. So yes, you can work with any of that and affect your chakras. So let's go into like, what is a chakra? Now, many of you have known this, so I'm just going to say words out loud. What is a chakra? Defined, it's a wheel. And a wheel that is a vortex of energy, a vortex of consciousness, where elements converge. In a chakra, it's made of, according to this system, which is the yogic one, I'm going to put it in the chat. Each chakra has 3 things in it: prana, chitta, and a tattva. I do have a whiteboard here, which I'm going to use at some point, maybe. I thought, you know, I would try, see if the whiteboard would even work. And if not, I'm glad to move it out of the room. It was not. So prana, chitta, and a tattva, which is an element. And in the middle of, because I'm going to draw a picture on the whiteboard now, in the middle of those 3 things, those 3 things that I just named, in the middle is that central core of pure spirit. And that would be where Sushumna Nadi, or your Kundalini, rises up. So I'm going to put the chakra, like looking at it like a disc. But remember, they don't really look like discs. I'm just going to use the disc as a model, as a wheel. Let's see if this works. Can you still hear me okay? Okay, great. This is a model of a chakra, not a real chakra. Don't try this at home. And it has 1, 2, 3 circles in it, layers. And in the middle is that center where technically the Kundalini, the snake, would rise up and pierce the chakra, purifying or dissolving material that's in these layers. What are these layers, you might ask? Glad you asked. So I'm going to put it in no particular order, but maybe the densest one might be out here, which would be a tattva, which would be an element. What are these elements? Earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So we have earth, water, fire, air, and space. Those are the tattvas according to Samkhya philosophy, which is this. I'll write it in the chat later. So we've got a tattva. And then another thing that's in here would be chitta. Chitta. And that would be your mind field, memory, storehouse of all your impressions. These are your experiences, how you remember things that have happened to you in the past, things that you think might happen to you in the future. And then this other one, I'm putting it close to the pure spirit one deliberately. This would be prana. Ooh, purple's vibrant. And that would be energy, just pure energy. So if we're dealing with the koshas, and don't worry about if you haven't had any of this study before koshas, there's plenty of trainings. Don't worry about learning everything. The tattva would be with your annamaya kosha, which would be your food body. The chitta would be your manomaya kosha, which was your mental body. And the prana might be your pranamaya kosha, which would be your energy body. So in each place, let's say I've got a root chakra, I've got a second chakra, I've got a third chakra, I've got a fourth chakra, a fifth chakra, a sixth chakra, and a seventh chakra. Each one of these will almost, the bottom 5 have all 3 of these. Once we get to 6 and 7, we don't have a tattva anymore. So the tattva is all of the earth stuff. The tattva is your earthiness. It's the most dense material that you have. So you're looking at the world through earth, you're looking at the world through water, you're looking at the world through fire, air, or space when you're looking at the world through your tattva. The chitta is how are you seeing the world through your earth? How are you seeing the world? All your experiences are filtered now through your earth. Yeah? Earth, water, fire, whatever tattva that is. And then the prana, all my energy is getting filtered through, and I'm putting energy into my experiences through that element. So I have the same, the chitta is the same in each, you have the same chitta in all of your chakras. Because you have your experiences, your same experiences in your entire being. You know, you just don't have your root chakra experiences. No, you have all your experiences all the time. But how are we seeing them? Am I seeing them through my earth element or which element? And then how much energy, pure energy do I have in there? So the idea of Laya Yoga, L-A-Y-A, is we're going to dissolve the pull, the energetic polarizing pull, which would be, let's say, judgments that we have that are inherent or that go along with the element. We're going to take the judgments off of the chitta by dissolving that material to leave more energy to invest into the realization of that pure central core of spirit. So that's what we're doing when we're working with the chakras. We're just not going to slice them open and cut it open and say, I'm opening my heart. Because that would be like opening a Pandora's box of all of the element, of all of your storehouse of memories, with all of that energy just kind of unleashed like crazy, like wildness, which could be sort of fun until it's not. Because, you know, once you open that box, it's open. And you may not be looking down and see what's in the box right now. Which is why we use this technique of Laya Yoga to dissolve the material, to make room for. So as I dissolve some of the element, then I have less attachment and pull and influence by the element of earth. And then maybe as I dissolve or neutralize the chitta, I have less attachment to what has happened to me. And now I'm left with more energy and more spirit. Does that make sense? Cool. So that's the way we're going to look at working with the chakras from this model. Yes. Another book has said, and another teacher has said, there's 3 fields in the chakra. So this is where the prana and the central core get a little bit, are they the same? Are they not the same? I don't know. I'm just giving you, this is part of schools of thought that I'm giving you. Ultimately, you will know with your own chakra experience. That's the one to listen to. These are just what's going to help you here is whatever's going to help you here. That's what's important right now. Why is it important? Like, why is clearing all this important? And I wrote down here, in order to live freely and not live under the rules of karma and your ahamkara, which is your self-identifying nature, the idea is to fill up the chakras with awareness. So ahamkara, or whatever your identifiers are, your I maker, will dissolve and be replaced by shakti, more of that pure energy, to make room for more of who you really are. Okay. To begin working with the chakras in this way, we try to be established in a few things because it's a powerful practice. One of them would be samavritti, so 1-to-1 breath ratio. If you haven't done these practices, don't worry, we're golden. Kaya sthira, which is physical stillness of the body. And then objectless awareness. So basically being able to meditate on a thing and be in the room with it as it. So don't worry about all that because we're held here. All right, let's see if there's anything else I want to say. Laya yoga. Yep, we did that. All right. So one thing I'm not going to go through in a big way today is Samkhya philosophy. So I'm going to get to the chakras. But I have to give a nod to Samkhya philosophy because it's just a good reminder. Samkhya. Sam would be same, Kya would be knowledge. So this is like the same knowledge. It's not a person, it's a thing. At the top we have Brahma, Brahman. Not the Brahma like Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. This is that, if you can name it, it's not it. So that which cannot be named because it's so big, it's so vast, it's so not physical. As soon as we put nama rupa or name and form to it, it's not it anymore. So with Samkhya philosophy, we start there. And it's like the big scheme of possibilities say, hey, here I am in oneness. I'm personalizing it now. It may not have really actually said these words. I'm paraphrasing. Here I am in oneness. I wonder what it would like to be to check out duality. Let's try it out. So let me split myself in two because it's duality. So I did. So I have Purusha on this side and Prakriti on this side. If someone who knows this would like to type it into the chat, that would be awesome for the people that have never seen these words before. Plus it will give you a chance to have fun with that. So Purusha, this would be all that is your soul, or all that is non-manifest, and all that is non-physical. Prakriti would be all that might be created. This is now anything that would relate to anything that can possibly be created or is actually physically created. Okay, so we have basically our form as Prakriti and non-form as Purusha. So now as this oneness, which contains both form and non-form, it's that vast. I'm split myself into form and non-form because that's how I decided to split my vastness up. Now, if I was doing a tertiary scenario, instead of duality, I had triality. Is that a word? Triality? Maybe that's the next incarnation after we move to Kali Yuga. Who knows? But if I decide to split myself in three, I don't know what this would look like. You know why? Because I'm not living that reality right now. I'm living this one, and it's all I can barely do to get through the day doing duality. So I don't even know what triality would look like. And I don't care because when I'm ready, that's what I'll be doing. Because, oh, I'll split myself into three. So we can talk about it and speculate all day long. But remember, we're going to be talking about triality from a lens of duality. So it's probably going to be inaccurate anyway. Just saying. So we got Brahma, Purusha, Prakriti. I'm going to erase the Purusha now so I can make more room, and so I can have more room for Prakriti. So Purusha's here. And under Prakriti, now this is all that can possibly be created. I'm just going to make it over here. We have the next thing that would be Mahat, M-A-H-A-T, or D, depends on how you're transliterating it. And this would be the great idea. This is like, hey, now I want to make myself into something. I'm going to become a Maria. So what all the things about, what if I chose to be Maria? So I'm going to become a Maria. So all the things that might say, oh, I could be a Maria. I think I'm Maria. I think I'm real. I'm totally not Maria. So all these parts out of all of the vastness of the universe, Maria energy now is gathering. Like these are the nadis now coming into Maria, specific to Maria. Now, there's a lot of Marias out there. So by the time we get to the Maria that's in this class, it's very specific. And then we go to Ahamkara. Aham means I. Kara means creation or maker. So literally translated, this means I maker. And this is who am I? Once I can identify myself as not the big, that which cannot be named. Now I've pulled away, now I've differentiated myself from the whole. I'm still part of the whole because I came from the whole, We're still earth because we came from the earth. We're also non-form. But now I'm specific. I'm more Maria than ever. And now Maria is starting to happen even more because Maria says, I'm Maria. Now Maria identifies herself. So when other existences say, hey, what or who are you? You go, I am Maria. And that's the first thing we say. We don't say, I am consciousness. Hey, who are you? I'm consciousness. We don't say that. We usually say what our name is and then what our job is. Our big two identifiers. I mean, they get more specific. We can go to gender, we can go to race, we can go to other types of socioeconomic conditions, we can go to hobbies, we can go to lots of things. But the ones that we identify ourselves with more are our biggest attachments. Just putting it out there. So now I've got ahamkara, I maker. From here, now we have the gunas. Now this is where it all gets fun. Whoops. Gunas. These are guna means attribute. So these are the things where we have rajas, which would be that which is animated or movement. We have, rajas has to be in the middle. So tamas, which means inertia or that which is inert, rajas, and sattva, which is all balance and illumined being. So we've got movement in the middle, inertia on one side, and balance on the other. Rajas moves us from tamas to sattva, or sattva to tamas. This is a whole different training, I'm just reviewing. The reason why I'm going here is because we're getting to the part that's important to this training in just a second. So, we've got the gunas. This is where it gets interesting. This is where you heard about the Akashic records. This is like, now these nadis, your energy, what you are, Maria, or whatever your name goes here. All of that is you now, is starting to whirl together, spin together. I'm using a physical thing. It doesn't really necessarily happen like this, but it spins together to come to you. You are the magnetic pull. You are the magnet. All this stuff here, this is your electrical system coming in to say, yes, let's light this being up. So before you're a form, you're an energy body. Your energy body knows exactly what type of physical body and parents you need to live the life you created back here before there was a physical life. So little Willow spent a lot of time and energy, well, not really, because it's probably not in time and energy, picking out Jamie as the mom. Because little Willow knew exactly what little Willow needed to do once they got to this life. So all of those energies, those nadis come together that now cross and make our chakras. And now because of our energy, because of who we are growing into being, we have a body that's going to support that. When we go into utero, well, when we go into utero, because we're going to go into utero tomorrow. So get ready for get your womb out. I told you to bring a womb. When we go back into the womb. So when we go into utero, we go through developmental phases, when we're like just a spine. And then we're kind of like a fish. And then we're kind of like an amphibian. We go through all these developmental phases in utero. But you know what? We don't stop. We wouldn't ever stop at one of those phases because we were never going to be a fish. We were never going to be a fish. You were always going to be exactly you. And your body knew exactly what it was growing into. It was not a surprise to your consciousness. We forgot a lot of this. Thank goodness. Most of us forgot. Maybe some out there didn't forget. But we forgot a lot of this coming in. But your body, you knew exactly what you were creating. You knew exactly what you were creating. You're perfection. You are perfection. You are perfection. Period. You were never going to be a fish this time. Maybe another time you said, I'm going to be a fish. Anyway, I got off track, but not really. Gunas, tamas, rajas, sattva, and then with the gunas, we have underneath, we have the elements, comes under tamas actually. So we have the, I'm going to erase this. Move up. So under the gunas, under the tamas one, which is the inner, the earthy one, the more earthy one, we have the elements. We have ether, which would be the least dense, because we're going from least dense to more dense, and then air, and then we have fire, water, and earth. Whoops. Excuse me. So as we dissolve these elements in the chakra, and we dissolve the pull of these elements in the chakra, we get clearer and clearer, we get less dense, we get clearer and clearer. Hey Mia, I see you showed up. Hi.
Hi.
Buon Natale. I'm sorry, my Italian, I just made that up, I don't know. Spaghetti, sorry. So as we dissolve these elements, it gives us more room for our pure spirit, which is up here in the samkhya model. Do you see what I'm talking about now? We're not as pulled magnetically to these elements. So we're not, I don't like to use the word victim, but we're not like a victim of these elements driving the bus of us all the time. We have more choice how to use the element in our life, how to use the element in our lens, how to use the element to help us understand how the world works instead of just being yanked around by the element. We release the judgment. By dissolving this stuff, we start to release the judgments that go along with these elements and the categorizing of them and the expectations around them. Expectations are just judgments with a fancy name.
Sorry, Jean, I learned that all of the elements come from all of the gunas.
Okay.
Not just tamas.
Well, you're probably right. I mean, I think I learned in my model, I saw there's certain, the elements came out of tamas, and then there's some other tanmatras that came out of sattva, and some came out of rajas. Go with what you know. It's not a samkhya class, because yeah.
Okay.
But thank you for saying that. And I will look it up to make sure I'm not telling you a lie. This is how I understood it, but I want you, thanks, Mia. Anyway, I want to see what if you have a diagram on that you could send me, that'd be awesome.
It's from the Para Yoga model. So
yeah.
I'll take a pic and send it to you.
Yeah, do. That way I can see what you're looking at, and then I can translate it into what I've seen. So
okay.
I'm sure they mean the same thing. Okay. It's getting us to the same place, but yes, thank you for that. See what I'm saying? There's lots of ways of approaching these material. When I front-loaded the training with the chakras, I said there's going to be a lot of different stuff. So this is number one. All right. Any questions on that so far before we get into the chakras? Okay. I'm going to pause for a minute. There's room for everybody. Okay. Chakra number one. This is where I'm going to try to follow. Here's where my suggestion, and I was really brainstorming for myself on how the best way to present the chakras, this limitless set field of information. Because as I mentioned earlier, we've got the yogic model, we've got the metaphysical model, we've got the electrical body model. We've got a lot of models for chakras. After break, maybe I'll go over some of the books briefly. So I'm going to suggest that you start your own chakra chart for your note taking, because I'm not going to go through and just do everything about the root chakra. I'm going to kind of go through them all, And then we're going to go back to the root chakra. And then we're going to go back to this chakra. So it's like, give yourself a nice structure to work within. However, it's going to be nice for your note taking to be, because some of you like to have it lined out like that. I know I do. And I find it frustrating when a teacher just jumps around like I do. So I'm going to try to give you the chakra number and name, the definition of that name, where it's located or where it is located by some, the element, the bija mantra, the yantra, the vayu, the sense that it goes with it, and I'm going to mention the gland. And then I'm going to give you some brief attributes, which we'll go into more later. Okay? So this is just the structure. I'm going to try to do that with all of these chakras at the beginning. And then we're going to do just a basic and give you some of the attributes, but knowing that I could go way longer on all of this. So I'll probably just type it into the chat because it might be easier for people to read. There's my cursor. There we go. That's the wrong place. So the first chakra is Muladhara. And Mula means root, and Dhara means concentration. So basically, it literally translates as root chakra. It's the only chakra that actually, its name is what we call it. Like the next one, Svadhisthana, doesn't mean second chakra. It means something else. So that would be Muladhara, means root chakra. And it's located, now this is where already we have differences of opinions, but let's just say somewhere in the pelvic floor. Somewhere in the lowest part of your torso, all right? For some, they're going to be very specific, that it's going to be in the middle of your pelvic floor at the perineum. And that gland, skipping all around already, would be the perineum or the perineal body. It's not really a gland. Well, it is a gland because it secretes, but they don't call it a gland yet. The other thing you're going to hear about here for the gland would be the coccygeal body, which would be at the tip of your tailbone. So the question is your Muladhara in your pelvic floor at the tip of your tail or somewhere else? So for right now, let's just call it at the bottom of your torso. The Tattva would be the earth element. So Muladhara relates to your earth element. The Bija mantra is Lam. Lam, 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 lam. So if you want to chant Bija mantra, would be Lam. We'll get more, we'll do the yantra, or the symbol here would be a square. I'm just going to go with really basic ones right now, because they can get way more elaborate than just a square. It could be square with 4 petals on it. But the reason why I wanted to bring up the square is because it's a 4 sides to that square. And what do those sides represent in the root? The 4 urges, or the 4 survival instincts that we have. One would be survival. One of the would be survival, the need for sleep, sex or procreation, and then sustenance or food. So we have our 4 basic needs there. So survival, sleep, procreation, and food. Survival, for some, might actually be, if I go out of the house, I'm afraid I might get killed. Now that is a real thing. And that means your nervous system is wired already to have your root chakra on alert, on high alert. So now so to use that example, the lens that you're looking through the world might be through a very thick root chakra lens, because you actually are afraid that you could get killed. If that's not you, And that's, you're not afraid that you're going to walk out of your house and possibly get killed. We have other ways of working with this survival, and that might be money. The big dollar sign is another way that we start to grip. And so how much do you see the world through your need or ability to make money? Because the more you are attached to and need that as a framework for your identifier, or just to make yourself feel safe, how much money do you need to feel safe? And if you have it, is it still enough? When we talk about the fear around money or gripping because I don't have enough money, that's a root chakra thing. Because that's another way of looking at survival. If you have enough privilege in your life to not feel like you're going to get killed when you go outside just for being you. Our fundamental dharma, or life's purpose, or mission, dharma, is to be. It's to live. It's to survive. So that's why we give these 4 elements: survival, sleep, procreation, food. Gets most of our attention. When one of them is missing or lacking, like we have a fear in one of those areas, like survival, or we haven't had enough sleep, or we haven't had enough sex or enough creativity in our life, or we haven't had enough food or ability to, or ways of sustaining ourselves. When one of those is off, it can really grab our attention and pull us right down into seeing the world through that root chakra. And there's nothing wrong with that, because the root chakra is here to keep us alive. That's its job. These urges can erupt. They a lot of times manifest through our emotions. We can get very emotional when we're dealing with our root chakra. So, like a trigger, it can be very fiery and just, wow, now I'm in my root. It can happen that fast. Our job at Muladhara is to balance these urges, to balance these needs. And we do this through moderation, is one technique. We have stories around these urges. We have stories around these sides of the square. We've got a food story, we've got a health story, we've got a survival story. Our food story, let's say we're trying to become a vegetarian. And then, a lot of people go through this phase of trying to become a vegetarian where they're afraid they're not going to get enough protein. That would be a survival response. I'm afraid I'm not going to get enough of this. I'm afraid if I take this away, I'm not going to get enough of that. There's a money story. How much money do you need to feel safe? There's a health story. I mean, getting sick in our culture, I mean, COVID is changing that or not. It's definitely shining a light on this denial of people getting sick. Because, man, before COVID, everybody would go to, not everybody, but most people I knew would go to work no matter how sick they were feeling. This idea that people get sick, it's a story, and it feels like a weakness. So why are we afraid of getting sick? Why are we afraid of taking care and like taking time away from our external world? Why are we afraid of taking care of ourselves? I mean, we all get sick from time to time. And the degree of that sickness or that illness might reflect some other imbalance. It can definitely get our attention. And this is where the Mahamrityunjaya mantra comes in yet again. It really deals with the root chakra here. Remember, it's not the great death conquering mantra like I mentioned earlier. It's the great fear of death conquering mantra. Haven't talked about this from the developmental point of view, but I will do that in another lecture. Any questions on the root so far?
Jean, I was wondering, so fear of these 4 things or undue energy devoted to them. So does that, I guess it would increase the tattva and increase the chitta, both, one or more, which then would create less space for prana. Is
Yes.
that right? And then, so
Or Mia, we still might have a lot of prana there, depending on the practices we're doing, but then it's going to be run through the lens of the chitta and the tattva. So it could actually be more prana, more energy to spin out on my money issue, or to spin out on my memory of like not getting sick. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's that central core, which is that pure spirit. But yeah.
Okay. So then how does the bija mantra interface with those? Does it? I mean, does it help to dissolve it supposedly, or how does that work? I mean, what's the point of the bija mantra then? Or do you want to get to that later? Please hold.
I don't know I don't want to get into the point of the bija mantra, but yes, using the bija mantra is one way of accessing awareness in the chakra. So it's more of it could dissolve it. That's what they're for, to help you dissolve, to bring awareness. And part of it, and when I say dissolve, I can already hear it and feel the pictures coming up. Is like, I dissolve it, I'm going to get immediate relief, which may or may not be the case. Like we just talked about 2020 and how it was a big excavation project. Didn't mean it was comfortable.
Right.
Didn't mean it felt good. So sometimes when we're using the bija mantra, it might actually activate some things that have been literally hiding under a rock. Oh my God, there's a beetle, you know, scary. So, but yes, it's on the path to dissolving, on the path to resolving, on the path to gaining awareness and opening ourselves up to what's possible there.
Okay. And then one last question, because I think you and Brenna have touched on this in other trainings. Especially, I feel like I remember Brenna saying this. There's not a physical location for a chakra. It can actually be outside of your body or somehow, like it can be anywhere. It's just, we're just thinking of it this way to help our limited minds understand this concept. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that is something that I've said for many years, because people get, especially I started really preaching this years ago, because I would go to these yogic trainings and people would say, it's like the chakra is right at the tip of your tailbone. Well, already today I can give you multiple sources that it could be the tailbone, it could be the perineal body, it could be the pelvic floor. It doesn't have where is it, you know? And that's why I'm not going to tell you where it is. And then the next instruction, 2 fingers up from that is where the location of the next one. And I go, and as soon as people were giving me that type of specificity, okay, it might help if I'm a visualizer, but it also could get in my way, because maybe I am feeling it, but it's not anywhere near what the teacher's telling me where it is. So now if I just say the word Muladhara, 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 like we did in the opening meditation, what started to vibrate for you? That will also tell you where your Muladhara is. Because it's going to say, oh, here I am. Because it could be outside of your body, because we are so much more than our physical body. If our energy body is really big today and we're really aware of it, I could feel my root chakra vibrating somewhere that's not on my physical body. I might feel it, but I might not, but I will feel it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jean.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Jean, it's Maria.
Hi, Maria.
I just wanted to say that I like that you said that just because there's something that you notice or you become aware of, it's not going to dissolve right away. It can take as long as it needs to take. And I, as a very impatient person, worse before than now, but you want things fast. And even like with other structures like Maslow's hierarchy, things will drop you back down. It's a fluid, it's not step by step logically, like my brain likes to think a lot, but if you can go in and out, you can lose your job and you go back down because money isn't an issue, or you can get a health problem, and then you drop down. So you kind of go in and out. So I like that you said that, because it resonates well with me.
Great. Yeah, it's a fluid thing. And we can go in order, but they're not in order. They don't have to be in order. When we do the glands, like I said, we're going to do them in order because it helps when we're going through the glandular system. But that doesn't have to be, but your chakras aren't tied to your glands, like they have to be in order, you know. So,
Gina, I have
yeah.
a question.
Yes,
It kind of, it sounds like when, like to dissolve it, it's one of those things that our consciousness wants to make things go away faster than what our energy knows that we need it to go away. Is it kind of like that, where it's like, I don't want to have this going on anymore. Like I'm trying to dissolve it, but our energy is like, no, you need to like sit with this. You need to let it form. You need to experience and figure out why this is going on. Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, part of that for sure. Part of our pain, it says, okay, I'm in pain now, and I don't want to be in pain anymore. So now what kind of tools and techniques can we use to help us alleviate? Some of it's just pain management. You know, if I'm in so much pain, I can't really be present. It's too loud. On the other hand, the pain is a pointer to say, oh, there's some work to be done here or over here. And then we can bring in things like the Bija mantra or these techniques to help us now either get some understanding about the pain or help it digest so we can move on, so it's not driving the bus of us anymore. And there's times to sit with it. And there's time to say, okay, enough. This thought that I have, I just don't want to have it anymore. This judgment I'm having on this thing is not helping me anymore. I can see maybe it was helping me at one time, but I'm ready to not have that judgment anymore. That's where we would be dissolving our attachment to that judgment, because the only thing that's keeping them around is our attachments to them. You know, they're not attached. They don't care. They're free. They can be anywhere, you know, and they'll find a new home, one that needs it next. There will never be a home for, you know, wayward attachments or judgments. They'll always find a place, or they'll be dissolved. Any other questions? Awesome. Great, everybody. Okay. Let's move on to the second chakra. Type here. Svadhisthana. Hope that's typed correctly. I can't tell. It's hard for me to read. It means, it's second chakra. It means in her own abode. So now I'm at home. I'm in my home. Location. Well, it's going to be anywhere above the root chakra. In the pelvis below the navel. The reflex point would be probably about, from your hip bones, about 2 inches inward. Oops. So if we're going to be touching it, like if we're going to touch our root chakra, we're going to go right in for the pelvic floor or touch our tailbone. We're going to play around with that later today. If we're going to do the reflex point for our second chakra, men and women, we're going to go in about 2 inches from the hip bones and tap. So it's below the navel, an inch or two, and tap about 2 inches in. So these places would be where the second chakra reflex points would be in the body, from the body-mind centering point of view. Some other person's going to say it's like right above your sacrum. Some other person's going to say it's somewhere else, but it's in this area if we're going to put it in a place. But I'm giving you the places to touch, so when we go and do body-mind, when we do the gland stuff, we have a reflex perspective. And I won't say that for every single one today. I'm just going to give you the ones that we're going to probably be working with today. And that would be because that's, if you want to work with the women's ovaries or the ovary idea, that's where it is. And with men, it's the same place because you got the vas deferens inside of you as your male ovaries. So the tattva would be water. The bija would be vam or wam. It's not a hard V in Sanskrit. It's not vam. It's not really a big W either, like wam. So it's sort of it's the cross between a V and a W. So whatever that works for you. Wom, wom, yeah. But it's definitely not a hard V. The yantra would be the circle, an ocean blue circle with a crescent moon at the bottom. Now the ocean is the tides, representing the tides and waves of the mind, the changing of the tides, the changing of the moon, symbol of things coming and going, things changing like our mind that is always changing. Life is constantly changing sense experiences. So and it's a reminder of what I believe to be permanent is not as permanent as I wish. Okay. Oh, I didn't give you the vayu on the, it would be apana vayu for the root chakra. Anyway, we'll get to the vayus. I'll just give you the rundown for this and we'll go deeper later because we don't need it for this afternoon's practice. And just some of the basic stuff with the Svadhisthana balance in Svadhisthana chakra is it looks like our ability to tolerate change. So instead of being whipped around by these constantly changing tides or changing times, we are able and more resilient. We're buoyant on that ocean. There's a buoyancy, there's a resilience, and our ability to tolerate and be okay with that change. We'll fill the rest of these in later. Because I'm looking also, we've got to get practicing soon. I'm going to take a few more, and then if you have questions on Svadhisthana, we'll come back, but I'm just going to do a few in a row, and then I'll check in. This is me looking at you. This is me looking at the camera. I'm doing my best to, I just want to see you all. Okay, great. Third chakra, Manipura, M-A-N-I-P-U-R-A, means city of gems. Would be the navel center. Now I've heard from some people it's up in the solar plexus, some people it's in the belly. So basically, let's say anything above the second chakra, below your heart chakra. And in Patanjali has even said that when you really get the navel center going, it goes all the way from your pubic bone all the way up to your heart. So again, it's not like a location that's hard and fast, but it's somewhere in this area. So you might feel it up high, you might feel it down low, you might feel it in your back, you might feel it outside in your barbecue, I don't know. The top one would be fire, the element would be fire. The bija would be rum, again, in Sanskrit, if you see an R-A, it's a short A. If you see an A with a line over it or two A's, then it would be ram, then it would be more of a ram. But if it's a short A, it's a more of an sound, like rum. The yantra is a triangle, an upward pointing triangle with a flame in it. And that would be the energy moving upward, symbol of the fire. To me, it's also a symbol of hierarchy, and we'll get into that when we talk about the developmental aspect of the chakras, which some of you have had already, but we'll repeat it. But it's energy moving upward, fire inside that container. This is the place of digestion, allows us to create the heat. This is where the rub is, transforms the fuel food experience into energy. We talked about the importance of digestion earlier in the class. But this is a rise to how it's part of our digestive, and it's all connected. I don't know if you were here when we talked about in traditional Chinese medicine, the earth element is the element of digestion. So now I'm tying it back in here. So it's not only the earth element, it's not only the fire element, they're both, but the importance of digestion to keep us out of worry. So our other system, which would be the next one, the immune function, doesn't get taxed because things that don't get digested get shoved now to your liver and your spleen, which is your immune. So yeah, okay. And that's all on when you watch the recording there. Okay, digestion Digesting things improves our concentration. Okay, got all those. Right, moving on. Also, Manipura is our sense of self. It's our, it's where developmentally we become more identified with who we think we are in a physical form. Any questions on chakras 2 and 3 so far? Yes.
Sorry, Jean, you talked about what it looks like to be in balance in the other 2 chakras. What does it look like to be in balance in this chakra?
Yeah. It looks like you're focused, and there's a sense of self that's inside of you, that there's a sense of discernment and a confidence. Also, there's a really clear use of your will for not, you don't need it to be, how do I say this without sounding so judgy? I'm not judging it, I just don't have language for it. Because we can use our will for anything. But to not be attached to the outcome of our desires for narcissistic reasons. Out of balance, it would be more of a dominance thing happening. In balance, I'm using my will, and I'm going to use these words, and I don't like these words because it's not how I talk or how I even see the world. You're using our will for good. Now that brings up a whole can of worms, like what is good, and there's a whole empirical thing. That's not what I mean, but there's a sense of balance to it and a sense of discernment. Again, these words are failing me miserably, which is probably why I didn't say anything. We can get back to that when we talk more about the 3rd chakra in detail, but thank you. 5th chakra, Vishuddhi, Vishuddhi.
Where I think, aren't we on 4th, or are we skipping?
Oh, 4. Yeah, we're skipping 4th. There's no heart chakra. We're just ripping it out of our chest. We're done. Heart, thank you. 4th chakra, Anahata, Anahata. Anahata means unstruck, referring to the unstruck sound, the sound that is always there. So it is an ever-present sound. It's an ever-presence. Location would be middle of your chest. The tattva would be the air element. The bija is yam, Y-A-M. The yantra would be 2 interlocking triangles, like the Star of David triangles. And in the middle would be a point of the center. So it's downward pointing and an upward pointing triangle. It's the higher part of ourselves reaching down to pull the lower up, and the lower part reaching up to join. So we're basically bringing my upper 3 chakras and my lower 3 chakras together. This is the tirtha of the chakra system. This is where I'm taking my lower 3, which is my earth stuff, my duality stuff, and blending it with my upper 3, which are my more heavenly realms, in my heart. Earth, the heart chakra is a place of equanimity, of no conditional, so unconditional love here. Balance in the heart chakra would be unconditional love. Balance in the heart chakra would be a non-judgmental space. Ability to see the perfection, to feel it. There's a sense of wholeness in the heart chakra. There's a sense of perfection in the heart chakra. There's just that sense of all is well in my world. And I don't see my world as that outside of me. It's a place of blending. Where really all are welcome here. Super potent. Side note, heart chakra has 1,000 times more transformational capacity than the navel center. So, just saying, if you got something you really want to digest, you might want to, if you have a clearness in your heart, that could be a place of super potent stuff. We don't go there all the time because our heart often is layered with lots of tattva, remember the air element, so it's very fickle, not stable at all. It's not a place where you're going to get grounded, you know. And then we have a lot of pictures around love and being taken care of and being loved or loving. So that would be our chitta. So there's a lot of stuff in the heart, which is why sometimes we just can't get the transformational job done there for a while. Fifth chakra, Vishuddhi, Vishuddhi, means pure. Throat is the location. Some of these are way more across the board. Throat, heart, obvious. The tattva would be space or ether. So the part that holds all the particles. The bija would be hum, H-A-M. The yantra is it's a moon, let me look this one. There's so many, I have different ones here. Which one do I like? It's a triangle with a circle in it, or it's a triangle with a circle around it. You can find other yantras for the throat chakra than this one. The reason why I like the triangle one with the circle is because the circle is this space and then the triangle is this container. And they sort of, for me, when I gaze upon them and feel them, there's a bleeding between physical and non-physical. But there's a space element. And because there's a container around it or inside of it, I can experience my own spaciousness. Some say the circle represents the sky and the moon, or the moon in the sky. So there's that. The fifth chakra is about finding one's message and speaking it. Creativity, I mean, you've got your fifth, your creativity of your second chakra, now expressed through your voice, whatever your voice is. It doesn't have to be your speaking voice, but whatever your mode of expression is, comes through your fifth chakra. Once I found my voice, how do I express it? How do I live my life according to my message? Sometimes acting from our voice might mean silence. It doesn't have to be a loudness. It's coming from our truth. We're living from our sva-dharma, which is we really know what our life's purpose is. We can really feel our purpose. And we live from that place. We're really walking our talk when we're living from the fifth chakra. Now, there's an element there of space. So we still have a tattva to deal with, and we still have chitta to deal with. And so out of balance, the fifth chakra could look like, you know, someone that is just thinking, well, their sva-dharma is better than other people's sva-dharma, because we're not in the land of now blending and unconditional like we were in the heart. Now we're into another, has different attributes here. So I could be thinking that my life's purpose is just so important that I'm willing to sacrifice or ignore all these other people, places, and things that have helped me get to where I am. So there can be an arrogance there and a sense of, what's the word I'm looking for? A sense of greater than, A sense of holier than thou-ness could happen in the fifth chakra. Questions?
And the opposite too, a feeling of less than, not having a voice. Would that be the same?
Yes.
Then?
Yes. Anytime anytime they say something, the opposite would for sure be true. Yes. Yeah. So if it's out of balance, not having a voice, what is my voice? Fear of expressing my voice. Not even knowing what my voice is. There's something so great about, and when I say speaking, it's not necessarily out of your mouth. Speaking and acting and being in a place of fearlessness. And when I say fearlessness, I don't mean recklessness. I don't mean arrogance. I don't mean like, hey, I've got this down. What I mean is I'm willing to be myself, put myself out there, and knowing that what I say may not be heard in the way I mean it, knowing that what I say may not be comfortable, but knowing that what I say, not coming from an arrogant point of view, like I'm going to say this no matter what, motherfucker type scenario. I'm not going to say like, bleh, just because I have to. I mean, there's that. There's a place of that growth. But sometimes we have to do that to break through some of the, we need some of that to break through some of the fear and inertia. But to really come to that place of balance is that fearlessness, because when I have to say something like with that much energy of almost an attack, I'm coming from a place of I'm afraid. So it's sort of dominating and driving my over voice there. But when I can really feel that fearless sense and which comes from this deep lack of attachment to how I'm received by others, because I know I'm received in myself. I don't need them to receive me. I don't need my voice to change anybody. I don't need my anything to do anything. It's just my voice. There's a difference there in our presentation of it. I don't need to make anything other than it is. I really have been working with this chakra like my whole life. And I think I'm finally getting it for myself in different ways. It's one that hasn't been given a lot of play also in the chakra system. You know, we kind of, oh, your voice. And then we move on to the more glorious and glamorous third eye. Or we say with a glamorous heart. But I have always been one that has stretched myself to say things that maybe aren't comfortable for myself to hear coming out of my mouth or the presence in the room. And knowing that I might have lost friends, I might have lost students, or party invitations for sure. Don't invite her, she's just gonna be, yeah, oh my God, don't invite Jean. But it's fun. The less attached I am, the funner it is. And not because I'm using the world as my plaything, but I am, but I'm not, but I am. But I'm not trying to see if I do this, am I gonna get a rise out of somebody? It's just, there's an element of just relief and fun to not care so damn much about what people think of me. And to stop behaving all the time in a way, because I'm safe enough in myself and where I live, and I have an environment, so and then to look at some of the questions about safety in expression. Because this has been a big one this year in 2020. I think you might have noticed. And I'm going to share a little story if you don't mind. So we were at a restaurant. This actually happened. Do I want to share this story? I'm not sure. Anyway, and I've kind of been a good girl and not, but I've been working with the female healthcare system now that I'm a little older, and it's not pretty. It's very, very male oriented. And you know, when I had really great insurance when I lived in the Bay Area, because my husband had a fantastic job where we got amazing insurance, I was kind of immune to all this until I'm, you know, on the Affordable Health Care Act. I'm going like, oh my God, I can't get certain prescriptions because it should be something that every woman should get, but it costs $1 zillion. But if I had, you know, erectile dysfunction, my little blue pill would probably be free. And it's just not only me. My husband actually said this, so I feel like I'm not speaking just from the woman in the room here. And then I got to thinking about that and how, and now with all the idea of privilege, white privilege coming up, and how there's a safety that's just assumed. And how yet I still have the advantage of not being fully white privileged because I'm a female. Because I know what it feels like to dial back what I have to say because I don't want to make people uncomfortable in the room. Because the ramifications of me making things a little less comfortable for someone could mean I could get fired or I could get hurt physically if I don't play along, if I don't play nice. And I say that, so now I can tell the story, it'll be funnier. So we're at a restaurant, and I'm with my extremely amazing conscious husband and two of our friends from San Francisco, also super conscious beings, so we can have bigger conversations. And I mentioned the female trying to get some sort of supplement for myself to make my older life more pleasant, and my pain around that. And I said, yeah. And then I said really loudly in this restaurant, we're all social distancing, but still I can get loud. And I was just into it because I was on my soapbox. So yeah, like if I had a penis, and I said that pretty loudly, that I would have gotten whatever I wanted for like free. And then the two men, my conscious friend, my husband and my conscious friend, are looking at me like, they're looking like, she just said penis really loud. I said, oh, you're having a hard time me saying penis really loudly? Would you prefer dick? And so I'm kind of going off at the restaurant. People are hearing me. And there's men around. And I'm going, yeah, well, you know what? Here's the thing. Do you know how many times I've had to sit and pretend that someone wasn't making me feel uncomfortable when they were making me feel uncomfortable? Well, that's it. So I'm not even going to care that I'm saying the word penis or dick at a restaurant out loud, this loud. Thank you very much. Then I sat down. Yeah, they probably won't invite me out to dinner ever again. But the point being is to think about how many times for you individually, whether you're man or woman or anything, have you dialed it down to make people feel comfortable? And I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. I do that every day because I want to communicate. But when it becomes something that drives the bus of us, when it becomes a way of being where we're sitting on what we really want to say, or the rules are different, because they are, the rules are always different. You know, we want to go unconditional. It's just not going to be this. We want the same rules for everybody, but it's not going to happen right now. We can work towards that though, and find ways to express ourselves in ways that maybe make it a little less comfortable without, I don't know, I don't have an answer to this, but I do know that it's important to start making moves, however we can, to find our truth and to feel like taking care of ourselves is an important and worthy place to be. And to start to observe, how much am I taking care of those around me? And how much of my energy is going to taking care of those around me? And how much of that energy is now being taken out of my own experience and my own work? Anyway.
Sorry, Jean, that I was thinking this question when you started talking, and it kind of goes into it, but it seems like a lot of the things involve multiple chakras, right? Like there's knowing who you are, there's feeling comfortable in that, there's using your voice. So, I mean, so it seems like just let me just work on this chakra. I mean, or is the, you know, is our approach going to be, let's work on all the chakras together somehow? To, you know, or do you do, or is there like one chakra, and then how does that work? What's the approach?
Well, the approach is the one that's working for you. And we are going, because it's a chakras training, we're going to probably do a little bit more isolating them, you know, getting more specific with them, just to get to know them better. But when you're working with them with yourself, I mean, if you know you've got a throat thing, you know, it might be, you might just know, I got a throat thing. I get sore throats a lot. I get tense in my throat. I have a jaw. I mean, there's certain things you go, oh, then you might want to give a little extra there, but also know that this, without the support of this below it, is maybe not going to be ready to open it up. So just because you're feeling the pain in one of your chakras areas doesn't mean that's the place where it's the pain. It means that may not be it may just be where it's coming out, you know. It may not be the area that needs to be worked on first. So it might be that third chakra might be, or the root chakra, you know, to find what needs to be in place for this to feel free. Like that would beg the question, like, why don't I feel okay about speaking my truth? And if I don't feel enough sense of self, then maybe I need to go to third chakra. And if I feel like if I'm going to speak my truth and I'm going to be attacked or killed, then maybe I need to go to my root chakra. So yes, we're working them all for sure. And to be able to have the facility and allow ourselves to bounce around in there is great, because there's times if we've been down digging in the third chakra or the root, we might just need to pull up and get a bigger picture by pulling up into the third eye, you know, so we can use the chakras as a way to give ourselves relief, perspective, different points of view, so we can change the lens that we see our scenario through. So yes, we'll work them. Today we're going to do an kind of an all chakras training practice. And then tomorrow we're going to go into like root and second to go really for foundation. And those are the practices you'll have until January, and then we'll move up. And then we'll move higher. So we will get to all of them. And since you brought it up, Mia, and this is a good time for me to say it, I think, is that most of the chakra work to clear out and change patterns is going to be dealing with your first three chakras. So most of the work is there. Without that foundation on the first three, it's can be challenging to really have that much non-judgment to find the heart or the throat or the third eye. The third eye is different because there's no takwa, which we're going to learn. So the third eye is kind of like your way of just pulling yourself out of the muck when you need to. Help, give me a third eye. So then you just get up here. For others that are super brainy and this might not be better, you might want to go down to your roots. So I don't have one answer because there isn't one. I mean, there's only one, but there's no one right answer. There's no one prescription for everybody. Yeah. Thanks for asking. Okay. Thanks for listening to my story, which I thought was quite funny. It was kind of fun.
Jean, just so you know, I've been channeling you a lot since our last training and being like, I can't believe I just said that. I needed to be said, apparently. I'm just going to go with Jean. Someone out there needed to hear it, and I
Yay!
okay with that.
Yay! Everybody just, you know, and you'll know how it lands. And and how you feel about it. Like you said, I'm gonna go, why did I say that? Well, just take yourself out of the picture, trust it, and maybe you needed to say it that way so you could learn, oh, maybe there's another way of saying it. So, it's a big learning. It's just not like there's just one person learning here, yeah? I mean, we say things so we hear them ourselves. I mean, I just had this conversation with a private a couple weeks ago about when you, if you keep saying things over and over, like, I'm just making the scenario up now. I need to be heard. So-and-so doesn't hear me. And then finally it's like, what are you saying? What do you need to hear? If you're not being heard by somebody else, what is it that you need to hear? That you have to keep saying it over and over and over again, So when we're doing these things and putting our voice out there, like you said, it's not only for the benefit of the parts around me, but it's also so I can hear, see how it lands, learn, discern, figure it out. So we all benefit. We all benefit. May not be always comfortable, but we all benefit. I have said some things oh my God, if I could crawl under a rock right now, I sure would. So, I've been there, and I will probably be there again as I learn and grow. So join me under the rock, will you? See you there. Well, masked and social distance, of course. It's a very large rock. It's a boulder. All right, sixth chakra, Ajna, A-J-N-A. It's not Ajna. Sanskrit is Agnya, like the Mexican tilde over the N, nya. Agnya means I command. It's the third eye. Location. Now, here's where it's getting tricky. So I'm not going to tell you exactly. I'm just going to say it's up here somewhere because there's the eyebrow center, because you can get very specific with these chakras. The eyebrow center, you can get the middle of your forehead, you can get the midbrain. But let's just say the third eye is somewhere up above somewhere from here up, below your crown. And yes, there's really little chakras in there, and there's different glands like the pituitary and the pineal and the mammillary glands. There's a lot going on in the skull glandularly and chakra-wise. So let's not lock into it too much until you can actually feel your own self, the specificity and the different attributes that each one of those various chakras offers. So let's just go ahead and say the third eye. And if I say midbrain, I'm going to mean third eye. If I say between the eyebrows, I'm meaning third eye. If I say center of the forehead, between third eye. But go to where you're feeling the presence of the energy. Okay, for now. All right, the location, told you, it's anywhere up here. The tattva, there's no tattva, which is why the third eye is great. So now you're only dealing with your chitta and your prana. You don't have to see the lens through an element. That's why it can be a relief to pull out and go to do practices, and end up in the third eye, because you don't have to put anything through an element. It's just prana and chitta. So if you've got a lot of chitta, if you've got a lot of mind field going, wah, 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 then you might want to bring it down, ground some of that out in an element before you go back up to the third eye. Because if you've got a lot of prana and a lot of chitta whirring around there, it can be too, when you have those, I'm sure I'm the only one in the room that's had this. You're sitting to meditate and all you can get is a to-do list going, shoulda, I'm going to stop, my phone, I'm meditating, but wait, make a note before I forget. I'm sure I'm the only one that's had that meditation. So that would be me really up in my chitta here. I'm up in my chitta. Seriously, that's pretty funny. We need a t-shirt. Get up in my chitta. So you up in my chitta. So my t-shirt store will happen some year. So if I'm all up in my chitta, literally in my own chitta, then that's when I would want to take a meditation to bring me down into a more stable element like earth. If you're going to go down to, ether, that's not a very stable element. It's kind of, and air, not very stable. Fire, less, more stable, but less than earth. So if I'm really here, I can ground it down and then move it back up to my third eye if I want to have a third eye meditation. On the other hand, if I've been digging away in the minefields, literally slack in the coal mines of my earth element, or surfing the waters of change in my second chakra, or I'm burning up in the fire of my third chakra, I may want to pull out to get a breath of fresh air. I'm already deep in my tattvas. So now I want to pull out of my tattva laden chakras into the third eye so I can see a bigger picture. So that's one of the, yay for the third eye. I like to, when I'm training yoga students from the ground up, in my classes, I deal a lot with earth, with root, and I do a lot with third eye. I really get that foundation going, and I do a lot with the third eye. Those are the places that I focus probably the most, and then I throw in navel center, but I'm finding less navel center these days and more foundation. I'm kind of going back to my, no pun intended, I'm going back to my roots on how I really like to teach yoga. And maybe that's because how I was taught and it really worked for me. There. All right, where were we? Bija mantra. Okay, this is where I'm going to tell you one school of thought, but it's not the right one because I've got 3 sources in front of me that say different things. But for this training, we're going to use the Bija mantra of Soham. Okay. I've seen it as Om, I've seen it as other things, but let's just go with Soham for this training because of the technique you're going to be learning later on. What else was I going to say? Anything else? Oh, Agnya, the yantra, is a circle with a little flame inside with 2 petals. They're like wings, kind of. I think they're like little like wings. So it's 2 petals now. Some have an upward triangle in it, but mostly it's a circle with the 2 petals or the 2 wings. When you are in balance in your Agnya chakra, you have access to your intuitive faculties. It's not about learned book learning. It's more about capital K knowingness. It's the place where you feel very fluid between the physical world and your intuitive knowingness. And you don't have a lot of fighting going on in there because you know because you are really walking hand in hand and trusting through the rest of your chakras, your intuitive insights. You're letting it flow, trusting the flow, trusting that you know what you know, that you know a lot. Out of balance, like I said in the meditation. Or maybe even super, super dullness. Like just stupefied, just like too much, like overwhelm. Seventh chakra, Sahasrara. Means 1,000-petaled lotus. And when we talk about the 1,000-petaled lotus, it's because back when this was translated, 1,000 was the biggest number they could come up with. So now there's number inflation. So now 1,000 really doesn't work because that's not that even big of a number to us now. So it would be the amount of petals that you could never count. It's like infinity petaled lotus, the infinite unfolding. Location would be the crown of the head or above. There's chakras above too, but let's just stay with the crown of the head. If you want a physical sensation, you might feel your crown of your head buzzing. No tatwa here either. The bija for this training is going to be Hamsa. Again, hams. It's trying to correct me to say hams. There. Om is also another one, or nothing even, because it's beyond. By the time we get to the crown chakra, we're out of the physical world. Okay. I don't take people up to the crown chakra and leave them there, because usually they would have to drive home or cross the street after class. So I would bring them back in somewhere. But to hang out in your crown is you're really not in the world now. You're really out of your physical world. You're out here doing other things that aren't worldly. So you might think, oh, I'm one with that truck, and then actually become one with that truck as it hits you. But you don't care because, you're out of this world. So, the yantra would be that either nothing, it would be all just nothing, or that lotus unfolding. And when we talk about the seventh chakra being in or out of balance, it's kind of, we have different rules now. The way I like to look at it is we pull everything up, but by the time we get to the seventh chakra, it's not about going up and out, unless we're dying. That's Udana energy, moving ourselves up and out into another realm. But it's more about opening, taking the reduction valve on our head and opening it up. So actually that non-physical or that wisdom or that divine, intuitive knowledge of all comes in. So it's more about me receiving the inherent wisdom of more. And I would say your crown would be out of balance if you're super judgy. Each judgment you have is a reduction valve. So the more judgment you have, the tighter this valve, the less able the non-judgmental information is going to be able to get into that top. So you remove your judgments, it gets in easier. Doesn't really come in like this. I'm just feeling the need to do it with my hands in that way. And let's see, transcendence would be the energy around there. Wrapping it up here, and then we'll move to practice. You brought this up earlier, but we find these places we're in balance and out of balance and in balance, and just take a few at a time. Don't take everything on. It's our biggest stories will tell us where our imbalances are, and where we're willing to listen to our own stories will take us down the road where we're ready to go in and resolve, dissolve, digest, and move from there. Heal, whatever language we want to use there. But don't think that we have to do all of it. By doing the chakra work, you're letting go and resolving things that your conscious mind doesn't even need to know. We don't have to know everything that we're resolving. I drink this tea, highly charged from my Mahamudra mantra earlier. So as I drink this tea, I don't have to trace it down my esophagus. I don't have to know what enzymes are moving it through my stomach, into my duodenum, into my small intestine. I don't have to watch it go through my small intestine, and then what parts of my fluids go into my cells and which parts go here and what parts go there. I don't have to know all that. It's just going to resolve itself. I'm going to drink this tea in one end, and it's going to resolve itself on the other end. How it gets used in my body, I don't need to know exactly where it's going to get used. I know it's going to get used, and I know it's going to resolve, either through pee or poo or sweat or something. Just like when we're working with the chakras, we don't have to know. Just by doing these practices and just naming the chakra, like Muladhara, 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 putting our attention there. Svadhisthana, 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 Manipura, Manipura, or even just the bijas. Lum, 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 lum. Wum, 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 wum. Rum, 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 rum. Just by doing those practices, that's just like the tea going through you. It's just help moving it along. Just moving it along. You don't have to know. You may start to feel differences in your life, which would be awesome. You may not. It's still working. It's still working, especially if you believe that it is. Because if your mind says this stuff doesn't work, then that's a pretty big overriding premise, yeah? Okay, any questions on our chakras overview? I'm pretty impressed that I got done by 2:30. I'm just saying. Questions? Comments? Okay, so this is how this is gonna roll. I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna shut the meeting off, which is gonna give the videos a chance to convert. And then I'm gonna start the meeting again. Let me move it so I can look at you while I talk. Yes, excellent. So I'm gonna shut the meeting off. Videos are gonna start to convert, which is gonna help my housekeeping and also the load on my computer at the back end because it sometimes is burning up. And then in 15 minutes, is 15 enough time for a break? Because we're going to take a break now and then a break after practice, a little bit. So take a 15, do your thing, get ready for practice. Then we'll do the practice. At the end of practice, I'm going to I'll tell you what time to come back. I'm going to shut it off again. Then I'll restart the meeting and then you can rejoin and then we'll finish up after that. That way I can have these videos to load into the page, which I will email you the links of tonight when it's all up and ready to go. So you can review anything from today and etc. So we're good. I'm gonna shut it off. See you in 15.
Do you want a befores and after situation?
Thank you, Lindsay. Yes, yes, I do. I would love that. In fact, if you want to play, we're going to do befores and afters. So before your practice, you're going to write down how are you feeling physically, mentally, emotionally, and vibrationally. Oops, I just texted that to someone privately. Someone can write that in the chat for me. That'd be great. And then basically, so physically would be, sore, tired, anything in your physical body. Emotionally would be like sad, happy, anything that you could put an emoji to. Confused, overwhelmed. Mentally would be quiet, still, dull, excited, overamped, whatever. And vibrationally, you can, whatever that means to you. It could be, I feel like a fluttering butterfly on the other side of the earth, or I could give myself a 1 to 10, and you'll know what that means. It doesn't matter. It could be color, it doesn't matter. But whatever's going to be for you before the practice, and then when you're done after the practice, write how you feel then. Okay? That way it'll give you an idea to see how these practices affect you. Especially if you've never done this before, I encourage you to do it because it's pretty awesome. Some of you have been doing befores and afters with me for many years, and some people still do it. I have a student who does befores and afters daily, and it's been a game changer for that particular person. So,
how long is this practice going to be? Is it a short one or a longer one?
Well, it's 2:45, and we get done at 5, right? Am I accurate in my time?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to say
2 hours?
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be all the chakras. I want to give us a nice meditation at the end.
Okay.
So let's say no more than 2 hours.
Okay.
Might not even be 2 hours. And then what I'm going to do with the practice is I'm going to do the physical practice and do the shavasana then I'm gonna stop. You don't have to, I'm not gonna shut the meeting off, but then I'm gonna put a separate recording for the meditation so that you can just go back to visit the meditation on your own. I know, right? I'm really getting this technology thing down. I mean, I'm so impressed. This is exactly how I would want this goods delivered to me. So that's how I'm learning how to deliver them to you. I go, what would be the best for me? This. So anyway, yay. I'm really proud. And I have a whole new setup. So, okay. Any other questions?
Just a quick comment. I loved your story, Jean, on the throat chakra, and the way you're talking about it so resonated with what I'm working on myself. So I really just wanted to say thank you for sharing all of that. It gave me a new like perspective on like what I've been experiencing and I haven't quite been able to put on in words.
Awesome. Thanks. All right. Anything else? Okay. See you in, let's see, 2:35. See you at 10 of whatever, 15 minutes from now. You do the math. Love you all.